Yeah.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, I'm not much of a video editor, so.
So you made it look like you were with this big ass microphone.
Right. The ASMR.
Yeah, I need you to get really close to the mic and just breathe as loudly as you can.
Maybe
into
we
it.
can. Is that
Okay,
a good distance,
okay.
or can we get it a little bit closer?
Good, a little closer? What do you think? Do you want a little closer? A little more personal?
Yeah, maybe like a little more centered.
Ashley's like, let me step in.
You're right.
Alright, I'm just worried about me blocking.
It's like I'm the director.
So let me, I guess I could do it like this.
Yeah.
And then I can just try and stand with this. Okay. Oh, I locked, oh, never mind, here it is.
Yeah, there
Alright.
Quiet on the set.
So thanks for joining us today. We're doing a little project for our Global Studies 100 class. Just trying to figure out cultures, talk to people about what kind of lives they come from, what kind of lives they've lived, and what kind of communities that they have been brought up in. So let's just start off with a softball. Can you let us know who you are and what you're doing here at UMBC?
So my name is Ashley Bonilla, and I'm an MCS major and a Spanish minor. And I'm here because I'm a humanities scholar, and I got a scholarship, so it was like the place that I could afford, or the place that gave me the most money, so I could be able to go here, and yeah.
All right, awesome. Could you let us know a little bit about your family? Are you a first generation immigrant? Could you tell us a little about
Oh, wait.
that?
No, my parents are the immigrants, not me.
Okay.
Okay, but I am a first generation student. So on my mom's side, her parents came first, and then they had to make a little bit of money in order to like bring their daughters over, and they have like 5 kids, so it was a lot. So my mom came shortly after with all her sisters when she was like around 7 or 8 years old. And then on my dad's side, my dad came when he was 15 years old, and he arrived here when he was 16 years old. And they took very different paths to get here. My mom's family was able to get like the visa lottery. They were able to win it, and that's how they came. But my dad had to walk from El Salvador to the border.
That's pretty incredible. That's not easy. All right. Do you remember any stories growing up, hearing from them about hardships or anything of the like, with the challenges that they've had to overcome?
Way too many.
Way too many.
When my mom came, she was very poor, and they lived in a house with like a lot of different people that they didn't really know. Like obviously it was all family, but she hadn't been with her family for a while since they were making money to bring her here. So like everything was strange and new, and my mom had to like overcome adapting to new American culture, but she was very young, so it was a little bit easier for her. But her school didn't really have a good ESOL program, so like learning the language was something she really battled with. And she said she got made fun of a lot when she got here. Like people would just like make fun of her accent. She was very poor, so she couldn't get nice clothes. And no one really, like my grandparents weren't really there to like parent her. And so she didn't have a lot of guidance, and she didn't really like brush her teeth and stuff. She didn't really know what that was. So like people would make fun of her for that. And so she just like dealt with a lot of bullying from everyone. And then she was also really confused when she saw a mixture of different races here. She wasn't like used to that because she's from a small town in El Salvador. And so there's not really a lot of diversity in a sense. Like there's only just like people who are like brown there, but she wasn't really used to seeing really pale people with like ginger hair, or she wasn't used to seeing really dark people or like Asian people. So it was all very new to her, and like she just like recalls like getting made fun of a lot and like having a hard time like adapting to the culture. And then for my dad, when he got here, his family helped him a little bit, but not too much. And so he just kind of went straight to work. He never really learned how to read or write. So when he met my mom, she helped him a lot with reading and writing. And like she made him take an English class, and that's how he learned English. But he still has an accent, but I think his English is really great. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. What kind of jobs was he able to get?
My dad works in construction.
Okay.
So he took up his brother's trade, which is just like furnishing stairs, like with stain and like making them look really pretty. So like when houses are built, they have like the ugly wooden stairs, and he just finishes off and makes them look really great. And he does floors too. So that's what he learned how to do, and he's been doing that ever since he got here. And then, yeah, that's basically
awesome. All right. Are there any cultures, traditions, or practices that your family has brought from El Salvador, or let's just leave it there. Do you still have cultural traditions that you practice?
Yeah, we have a lot.
Okay.
For one thing, my family is never apart, and in El Salvador, that's a big thing. Like over here in the United States, a lot of people, when their parents reach a certain age, they just put them in retirement homes, and they don't really keep in contact with their family. People move to another state. That's not like our culture. Like we live in the same neighborhood as my grandparents, and we always have lived very close to them. We've always gone to church together. I've always been over their house. Whenever I need them, I could literally just walk over there. So like easy access to family is something that we brought over. Like holiday traditions, like our traditional foods, we still have all of that. One example is like our Christmas is on December 24th and not December 25th. And that's like
Noche Buena, right?
Yeah, Noche Buena. That's like an all Latino thing. We still do that. Like every year on the 24th, we celebrate Christmas, and then the next day is just like recovery from partying all night. Right. While everyone else is like opening gifts and stuff. For Thanksgiving, we only have like traditional Salvadoran foods. But one thing that I noticed is like at Christmas, we have a mixture of American food and Salvadoran food. So like we have tamales and we have like all that stuff, but we also have like mac and cheese and like turkey and like stuff like that. So it's cool to have like that mixture of that kind of culture. And we do have our Christmas tree, but then we also do our Salvadoran tradition with like, you know, our different decorations, like religious decorations and stuff like that.
All right, cool. Do you have a favorite food?
Tamales.
Tamales.
Yeah.
Tamales are pretty good. What type of tamal?
The kind in El Salvador are different. They're like really moist, and they have like chicken and chickpeas and like different seasonings inside of them.
Have you ever had like rice tamales?
No, I have not.
I think those are pretty Mexican.
Probably.
But those are delicious.
I need to try
Even with like chicken in them too. Anyways, I digress. So there's a dichotomy here, sort of between the cultures that are mixing, and you touched a little bit about how you picked up some traditions here. Do you have a sense that they clash sometimes, or that maybe sometimes you have to pick one over the other?
I feel like my family is a perfect mixture of both. A lot of Latinos have this saying that says ni de aquí ni de allá, which means I'm not from here and I'm not from there, referencing the motherland in the States, because like we kind of have created our own culture, like Latino culture here in the United States. We have our own as opposed to like the one back home, but it's still our culture. It's like just the perfect mix. So I sometimes I do feel like I wouldn't say given into American culture, but I am Americanized, because I hate to say that education is Americanized, but like back home, my cousins don't get to go to college. They only make it to high school, and then they pick up a trade, and that's what they do. So like I am the first person in my family to have that education. And like they have teased me sometimes. They're like, oh yeah, like the gringa, which means the white girl, the gringa has to go back to school now every weekend when I come back to campus or something like that. So it is like sometimes yes, but a lot of times no. I feel like I just am both.
That's good. See, I'm trying to formulate a question that is not written here. Do you think that we have to be careful and hold on to our cultures and traditions like that? Or do you think that we just shouldn't have to worry about it?
I think it's important to hold on to cultures, and especially language, because my family is like once we got here, like everyone kind of like met someone new, and like for example, like one of my aunts married a white guy, and like now her kids are half white, and one of my other cousins married a black guy, and her kids are half black. I think it's important to keep culture, especially language, because now that my cousins have a white father, they never learned Spanish in their home, whereas I did, because both of my parents are Salvadoran. So like I know how to speak Spanish fluently, but my like white cousins don't. And then at Christmas time, they can't even formulate a sentence to communicate with my grandparents, which like breaks my heart in a lot of ways. So I think that in that sense it's very important to preserve culture, because it might just be like a matter of being able to communicate with your grandparents. Like if you can't tell them what's going on in your life, they can't keep up. And I can see that it makes my grandparents really sad when they take the time to go visit my cousins and they don't even want to try to speak Spanish back to them. So I think it's important to preserve that. But also like I'm very proud of my culture, and I think it's really beautiful, and it's something I really do want to preserve. Like in my life, I'm always representing El Salvador. Even though I was born here, I always like to represent where my family comes from, because both of my parents were from there. So I feel like I'm from there. And I do go back very often, and I want to preserve that. Like by going back, I like keeping in touch with my family and like just keeping up with what's going on in that country as well. So I think it is important. I think it's not something that we should just let slide.
So you mentioned a lot of the difficulties that your parents had moving here, and that, I mean, it's a tremendous task to not only uproot yourself from your home, but then move like halfway across the world and try to make ends meet, really. Do you find yourself drawing comparisons to your life now and your experiences to them ever?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super, super privileged, like, in a lot of ways. Like, I was born with lighter skin than my parents, especially my mom, so I have that, like, more privilege in that aspect, and I do compare it a lot because I see how people treat her just because of the way that she looks, and it makes me really upset, like, especially in jobs, like, she gets stepped over, and she's such a hard worker, and people don't want to acknowledge that. She gets, like for example, she's the least paid at her job right now, even though everyone else does the exact same thing that she does, and she's been there for, like, 2 years, like, longer than most people, but, like, the whiter skinned people got paid more than her. So, like, I do compare myself in that aspect. Also, I was, like, born here, so I don't have to worry about a lot of the stuff my family has to worry about, like, in regards to citizenship and stuff like that. So in that way, and then, like, just me being able to go to school. Like, my parents are so smart. Like, on their free time, my dad reads psychology books. He reads, like, all types of things. And then my mom, she's so smart. Like, she would have been, like, a doctor or something if she had the chance. Like, she just has that type of nature, and she's super intelligent. So, like, in that aspect, I feel like, yeah, I have, like, I think about that a lot, how if they had the same advantages that I have, they would be different people. They would have much, much better lives, which is why it's a lot of pressure on me to make it all worth it. Like, the fact that they're here now and they decide to raise a family here, like, I have to stay in school and I have to do well and I have to get a good job for them because I do want to provide for them and, like, try to make up for the fact that they didn't get the life that I got.
So now you're bringing up challenges that you might face one day. Could you elaborate more on that, besides just, having to maybe meet expectations that have, in a sense, been generationally thrust upon you?
That's a hard question. Like, challenges that I might face someday.
Yes, it's things that you worry about, maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Take your time.
Yeah, I gotta think about that one. I feel like there's just so many things. Like, even the things that I just mentioned, even though they don't apply to me, I still worry about it. Like, example, like the citizenship stuff. I still worry about my family who doesn't have that privilege. Like, it's always on the back of my mind, especially during this, like, political climate. Like, you never know what could happen. Like, them getting pulled over by the cops could lead to them being deported. You know what I mean? Like, my family could be ripped apart from me at any minute. So that's always on my mind. Also, like, I have faced, like, a lot of discrimination just being a Latina, even though I was born here. Like, in high school, a lot of people just, like, thought I was stupid, or, like, when I tried to take AP courses, they would literally talk behind my back and be like, oh, she thinks she's smart like us, she thinks she can be in those classes. I even had to, like, quit the debate team because of, like, racial, like, events that kept happening. Like, I just kept getting talked about, I just kept getting discouraged, and, like, I do, like, it's hard because you want to stay in it because you want to prove them wrong, but at the same time, if it's really bad for your mental health, you can't stay in a situation like that. So it's, like, those types of pressures. But yeah, it's just, like, stuff like that. Like, I worry about, like, how I'll be treated in the world because of my family's background. Like, it already happens a lot, like, when I'm out with my parents, like, people will say something to them because of my dad's accent, or they'll say something because of my mom's skin tone. It's just, like, those types of challenges that I think a lot about. And also, like, the challenges, like, socioeconomic challenges. Like, we didn't have that much growing up. Like, we did have, like, I did have a roof over my head, and I was able to buy things that I wanted. But, like, now things are getting hard because my parents are getting older and they're not as able-bodied anymore, and they don't have degrees. In this world, you need a degree to make money, it seems like. So I see them struggling with that, and it makes me really worried, and it's just, like, more pressure on me. Like, I'm gonna have to provide for them one day, and, like, not to, like, diss my own major, but, like, I do worry about if I'm going to be able to make money with my major. Like, I think we all do. But like, that is, like, I'm like, okay, I really have to make these connections. I really have to make these connections and stuff to be able to provide for them, because I see how my entire family is struggling now, Like, we still, like, don't get me wrong, like, we still have things, but it's just, like, that worry that's there.
we're running a little over time, but I want to maybe get your thoughts on the people who do go after, people from other countries, immigrants, people who make nasty comments. What do you do to address that feeling?
I don't know. Sometimes I get very angry, and sometimes I'll just straight up tell people we didn't cross the border crossed us. My family is descendants of people who this land belonged to. Latin America was always here before it was Latin America. And so I just, you have to remind people that, but also just remind people to check their privilege. There's a lot of hatred going around nowadays, and there's no, it doesn't help to spread that hatred back. But we also really need to talk about how, certain actions towards immigrants are being condoned even more nowadays. I mean, immigrants have always been treated poorly. The United States has a very racist history of, excluding immigrants from everything. For example, the Chinese Exclusion Act, hello. They've always been racist toward immigrants. It's not anything new. A lot of people think it's something new, but it's not. And I just feel like we have to remind people that this is our history. Our history is xenophobia and kicking people out. And we need to address it, and we need to fix it, because I think the diversity of this country is really beautiful. And I love coming to a school like this where I can learn more about every single type of person. In my MLL class, it's intercultural communications. I'm learning so much about other people, and I love that. And I just can't understand how some people wouldn't want to learn more about other people. It's just something I'll never wrap my head around.
Last thoughts then. Do you have any words of wisdom that you would like to share with people that might be having a hard time adjusting to living in a new country, or just trying to get by day to day, in the fight against evil?
I mean, just remind them that their existence is political, and every single day that they get through it, they're inspiring someone. They're giving someone hope, and they're reminding people that this is the land of opportunity, and they're taking advantage of those opportunities, and they're doing everything that they can to, inspire people and live every day. Just their existence is inspiring to me. So many people's existences just inspire me. I see people do everything they can do in one day, and I'm just you did that. That's amazing.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That was great.
I feel like we need to quote that.
Oh yeah. We probably are gonna